Welcome back to another episode of Digital by Attention Media. Today we are talking to Aoife O'Connell, who is the founder and director at Yarnly.ai, an agency that specializes in creative bots, conversation marketing, and automation. So we are talking to Aoife today around chatbots, around the importance of automation in your marketing and having an automated process that allows you to get the most from your digital marketing. We talk about voice and where the industry is heading. We talk about the current state of digital marketing and so much more. So fantastic episode. Aoife is an industry leader in this particular area, in this niche. So tune on in. That episode is coming up next. Welcome to Digital, a podcast brought to you by Attention Media, a location-agnostic digital growth agency helping businesses become iconic brands. On this show, we dive into the hottest topics, the latest updates, and what's working in social media and digital marketing right now to get you up to speed and keep you informed. And if you want to grow your business through strategic digital marketing, head over to attentionmedia.com.au, click on the Book a Discovery Call tab, fill out some details, and we'll be in touch. We'd also love to know if you're listening to this show. So please take a screenshot, upload it to your preferred social media account, and tag us at Attention Media Agency. Let's get into the show. Aoife, thank you very much for joining us on Digital by Attention Media.
Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure.
Now, this isn't our first podcast together either, by the way. So. No, it's not. So it just so happened that on a previous podcast, for everybody listening in or watching in who isn't aware, Aoife joined me on, it's now rebranded to the Anthony Murphy podcast back in November 2019. So what's that, 15 months ago now? Time flies.
Yeah, absolutely. What a year, right? I think this first quarter, we're in March. Are we in March?
We are.
It's like this first quarter has just been a roller coaster from last year. So that's interesting, the timeline. But yeah.
It is. Yes, the world was a different place in November 2019. But
absolutely.
Back then we spoke all about, the conversation was very much around chatbots, which was definitely a focus of your business at that time. But for anybody who hasn't tuned into that episode, could you please give us a bit of the backstory, the Aoife O'Connell backstory and what Yanley is all about?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I started Yarnly about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, probably now that when you said 18 months.
Yeah.
And basically I was a digital marketer, 15 years, large corporate, started my agency to help enable small to medium businesses with chat marketing or conversational marketing, because the essence of where consumer behavior is going is mobile, and the demand economy or the demand conversational economy of people wanting the information now is very appropriate in chat. So we niched down into chatbots, and what we discovered the last year specifically, certainly with the kind of COVID and the rise of digital ecosystem and people needing to get into that landscape, is that when we looked under the hood and discovered kind of what automation and what people weren't doing, more likely it was kind of, we had to reverse engineer that strategy because they just weren't ready for chat. They weren't ready for that AI adoption. And so we're pivoted a bit. So it's more so to amplify really purposeful brands, specifically wildcards, brave voices who want to champion change. So we really want to help support them with digital marketing, through email, websites, bots, and then bring them on that journey to upweight into the AI stuff. Yeah. And that's what we've really kind of started to do the last 12 months, because I've just sat back and listened to everything that's gone on, right? And I think communication has changed. The feel has changed, emotive has changed. People are really wanting to use their voice and amplify that message for a better world. And I think that's so incredibly important. So coming into this, when I started Yarnly, to answer your question, it was really about digital marketing services. Great, we can set you up, we can build bots, but now it's actually about what are we trying to achieve for the people we work with client space and messages in that market. Because I think, suppression is everywhere. Minorities are certainly not supported enough, and that's where we want to make the change that we can B and then C, and move forward with that.
Yeah, look, I love that. I love that. And, a little bit of context. We met personally back in 2019 as well at a marketing event. And I think, if you look back at that point, we both presented at that event, and the changes that have happened in that time is crazy. And I think one of the biggest things, for the modern day business owner is, how do I market my business effectively? How do I use digital effectively? And then where the heck do I start? So from Yarnley's point of view and the brands that you work with, and the purpose that your business has, who is your business best suited to help, right? What are some examples of the types of businesses and brands that you work with?
Right now, where we're really wanting to help support is community-based groups, sustainability elements, people that are raising awareness for humanitarian needs, but also, diversity and inclusion, female presence in the workplace, just people that have causes that are underpinned and they need that voice, and they need that. They have enough responsibility and should be channeling their passion into being who they are to echo that. They don't need to know digital marketing. And I think from my journey looking under the hood, becoming a service-based business and an agency, and I've seen how things are set up, it's kind of frightening to think that, it's so ad hoc. And if we can just be that piece of the puzzle to enable the strategy to elevate that voice to more people, then I'm a happy woman,
Yeah.
So it's really pivoted from our large scale brands. When we did launch, inevitably we fell into that kind of enterprise level, to be honest. And I'll be really frank, actually, the last 6 months, I've cleared 80% of my book. We've just removed our client base because it just didn't align with where we want to move and where I feel purpose and comfortable in using the strategy that I know can raise those voices for nonsensical reasons, not interested in that. So that's where I've stripped it back. So it's really this kind of first quarter is going to be really interesting for us, because we're kind of placing the foothold of the clients that we do have, and then going to market with actually approaching the people that we feel necessarily that we want to elevate in the marketplace. So I think kind of like that reverse engineer. I mean, there's just a lot. I'm really proud of the people being able to come out and have the confidence to speak up, certainly even in the last, number of months, like with some government scandals, and females certainly using the voice to be backed with that. And I just, that's where we really want to go. So more so for us, it's around addressing the pillars that we want to support. That's like general sustainability in the earth and making it a good place to live, and people doing really great things there, but also that environmental and humanitarian element.
Yeah. Look, I love that, and it's a fantastic point of difference. It's obviously a very worthy cause and a much needed area. People always do need a voice, and it kind of flows into sort of my next question around, because the whole purpose for Digital Right, for this podcast, is to not only help the listeners and the viewers stay up to date with what is emerging and what is happening, but also to try and simplify it in a way too, right? Just help them, clear through the murky water and help them develop a strategy or find a way forward with digital marketing that can help them grow. What's your take on the current state of digital marketing, right? Because we've just talked about how much and how quickly things change. For a business owner, we know how crazy it is to try and keep up with that. Where's your head at with the current state of digital marketing and how business owners and brands can work through that?
Look, personally, I think the rule book has been totally ripped up, just from an environment, but also from a technology stack and the resources available as well. So to your point, not to overcomplicate it, there is I think there's 7,000 MarTech tools now available to small businesses and enterprise businesses. What one do you pick? What do you select? It's even cool, and that's where I feel I can help and support clients that come to us, is because it is overcomplicated, and we don't want to get a sugar high, we just want to get structure in their business stack that will help enable them to have more time. Basic, just straightforward automation. Then on top of there, once you have that foundation layer, so from your CRM, so managing all your inbound leads or inquiries, or your sales, and then your email automation, and then your social automation, and then obviously that content pillar. Then after that, we can really dig deep and understand what messaging is going to market. And I think I've actually refused to do work until the brand is very clear on what message and what purpose they're going to go with and what they actually do. Because again, for me, morally, placing ads in market that isn't going to ladder back to what they are as a business, either if it's manipulative or unethical marketing, it's just, and that is rife, I think I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but I think that's why I'm saying the rule book is completely broken up. We've learned tactics and structures from kind of a framework of click funnels, right? Lead pages, that really bro marketing. And right now people are tired, and it's been a long year previously, and they just want to align with someone and a brand that has the same values that they are. So I think outside of the stack element, outside of just getting that right, it's then about your core messaging. And I think that's where you need to double down and figure out your point of difference and who you are, and go all in, be that personality, or don't be, you can really go in on who you are, because your people are out there. And I think the confidence in having an agency that can back you with that framework is going to elevate you and give you the comfort that we know we've handled the kind of back end, right? And that it's not going to be the noise that you're going to make is not going to be for nothing. And I think that's very passionate about that. Because even coming to social, there is elements of, I guess, algorithm blocking and hashtag blocking for certain groups. And we just need to be aware of that. And I think once you have a good strategy from the tech stack to then your core message, you're literally 80% there.
Yeah. Love that. And I think just touching back on the, making sure that the purpose and the values of the brand, if we look at some of the emerging brands, the popular brands, especially with, and I feel like younger demographics these days as well, are gravitating towards brands who, as you said, they align with, right? They have a purpose, they have goals that they are trying to achieve by using their brand, building their brand, and the younger demographic is really gravitating towards that now and becoming much more conscious around who they support, who they align with. And it's the brands, as you said, that can get that message out to the market and are really driving towards their purpose that are getting the most cut through. I mean, do you find that on your end as well?
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I think we as advertisers, people in our industry, and even brands themselves, underestimate the intelligence of their customers every day. Yeah. And I think we need to give some credit where credit is due, from the people on, scrolling the news feeds of what they're seeing every day. And I think for a marketing message or a brand message to be siloed in, a group of 10 people in a particular business is very ignorant to actually what's going on in the market. And I suppose, to that point, I think a niche that we've actually gone down, which is becoming quite popular, is that audience intelligence element. So using certain enrichment tools, data enrichment tools, to be able to analyze who their customers are. So who do they have, and what, but not so much of, demographic or location. It's actually understanding what media they're consuming. Who are they following? Why are they following this particular person? What does that particular person stand for? So it's really getting into that embodiment of who this person is. And any recommendation, even from, when we build out strategies, we don't do personas anymore. I don't think you can actually segregate into persona models, let alone when you go in and call them certain names, like, I don't know, considering Claire or whatever the hell. And
Yeah.
who the hell is that? You know, it's like, it's just
So
ridiculous.
true.
So it's kind of like, I feel that there's a bit of that education, and I suppose, yeah, it's about understand, and it's trust, right, Anthony? You know that. It's like who you align with the client. They need to be able to trust you, and you need to be able to back what they want to say.
Yeah.
So there has to be an element of education there of how we are marketing today, and it's raw, it's vulnerable, and you need to be on purpose with the message and really dig deep. I think outside of that, no automation, no strategic work is going to actually deliver for you.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the other point that we're also trying to get across, and like we've had this conversation with previous guests as well, is around the fact that marketing as well nowadays, as you've just described it, is very much around the content and the messaging and getting that to people. It's not let's use social media or let's use a chatbot or let's use our Facebook ads to make that instant sale, right? Or just push that sales message out, right? You have to build a narrative, you have to share the narrative, and you have to invest in building the brand through content, through your digital marketing. And obviously that's, the core pillar of what you do at Yarnly is helping people get that message out, not about making that instant sale. And I think there's still a lot of education that needs to happen around that topic, because everybody thinks, oh, digital marketing, it's going to explode my sales, happy days.
Yeah, exactly. I had a conversation the other day and they were like, oh, we just want sales. That's all we want, sales. And, it's kind of, well, what's sure, put everything at 50% and go for your life and just go hardcore, back it up with something valuable. Then you can get sales, then you're kind of going back into your product exchange. Like, is it valuable for what you're asking the client or customer to pay for it? It's as simple as that. And I think it's coming back to the point that we're actually naive in creating marketing campaigns, not considering how smart our customers are. And understanding who they are, really deeply understanding who they are, and intuition as well. I think it's incredibly important for, if you are selling something to a particular demographic or type of person, then you need to have those people within your organization. That intuition-led decision-making on messaging is incredibly important. And if you don't have them, then you need to get them in. And I think that's incredibly important. And just the inclusivity of it all as well. Like, I think we're building frameworks, which we always have from, structure that we're bound by really in society from top down, is that we're building frameworks that are very narrow. We need to consider elements that people are not narrow anymore. That's the most important thing, to be able to weigh that up and understand who is attracted to your brand. So audience intelligence is really important. You can easily get your email list, get your social networks, and you get identity and emotion from what those people are doing and following online. And then you can reverse engineer and figure out how you are going to relate to them if they're still market capture. Yeah.
Again, for the people who are listening in, where do you stand around a business owner brand doing their own marketing completely, or the advantages to having an external agency or partnering with somebody else who has expertise in the area that you need help with? Where do you stand on that? Should people be trying to do it all themselves?
Yes and no. And look, I think the most phenomenal marketers are people that believe in a cause, and they're out there really living, breathing, and creating change, outside of the typical brand. So, you see, and it's brand messages that create community as well. It's not followers, it's not likes, it's actual community, people that are bound together as a people that are going to support a particular message. Where I find the value of an agency, and that's incredibly important, is that you can't, if you're not working in digital marketing, and certainly, like, I gave a talk, I think last year or it was before COVID, that digital marketers are actually getting disrupted right now. They're already being disrupted. Unless you're re-educating constantly, and you're kind of becoming that T-shaped marketer, like you have basically education across multiple different layers, and then you niche down in one, then you're not going to survive what's happening, because it's not so much of, it's our ecosystem is completely evolving. So coming to your point, if you're a small business, can you do it? Yeah, you can elevate your voice. But when you're actually trying to execute and have the right approach to placing advertising spend, and I guess the right formula to place ads, in particular placements, and how people are engaging with that, you can't know that particular structure of every site or every strategic approach. It is very important for someone to be able to develop out a strategy but execute on it as well for you. I think the most important thing is for being a marketer on your own brand is really to go deep on your messaging and your content, and know who you are and know who your customers are, and nurture that community. Then partner with an agency to get more famous,
Yeah, to amplify it. Yeah, 100%. Love that. So chatbots and automation, right? I mean, we previously had a pretty deep conversation around chatbots, and as you've mentioned, it's now more around what part does automation play? So can you talk to us about that? How can automation, first of all, what does that even mean? And number two, how does that help a business or brand?
I think it's a no deal at the moment. I mean, you have to have automation in your business to be able to maximize, certainly if you're a small business, to maximize your time and to maximize the intelligence behind it. So that nurturing of that customer. So automation for multiple layers is to be able to have the ability to communicate with your customers through different messaging that will be triggered from reactions. So if they come in and they buy something, and then we can automate a series of emails, but alternatively, if they're doing something that we want to automate a text message to kind of get them back in, that element of stuff. So there's multiple layers of kind of automation, but it's more so the management of your actual consumer base. So that's your client base, and to get to know who they are and be able to have that data and have that profiling of exactly who's buying what, and then using that information to go back out to market and have your dream customers, so the people that are constantly recurring and that are buying, every 3 months or every 6 months or whatever your life cycle journey is with your product or your service. And then, you're going to amplify that key individual to get more clients. You can't really do that on manual or through your IP is in a particular head. And the value of automation is that you're enabling anyone or the ability to hire anyone to come in and see that information with the touch of a button, rather than having that IP. What happens if you, want to sell, or what happens if you, don't work the next day?
Exactly.
So that's the key base of the automation elements.
Yeah. And there's still so many businesses that, don't have some of the basics set up, like a CRM, like an email sequence, like you said. So many people and brands still put content out onto social media and never respond to comments or anything. So the consumer, the user, the individual out there, keeps hitting a brick wall, and there's nothing behind that. So the time and effort that's put into that, and again, this is around the education process, is the time and effort that goes into creating some content, putting it out on social media, and trying to use that to drive your business. If there is no automation, if there's no follow-up sequence, if there's no strategy beyond that first point, it's a complete waste of time, because it's a negative experience, and it is not building community, like you said. So there really does need to be that strategy, and I think that is the key part of what an agency can help bring to a business and brand. Is that automation, is the strategy, is the follow-on? How do we build that ecosystem rather than just the social or the single email or whatever it is? So that's important. I know voice is definitely an area that you are playing and are very interested in. Can you give us a bit of a snapshot around where voice and that side of technology is at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Voice, that was kind of our main plan in 2020, is to leverage voice and go straight into that. The way the market went at that particular time, digital evolution increased from from kind of websites and that standard framework, whereas R&D money for people to explore voice skills to complement their app or their product was not there. So where we're finding voice has come a long way. And I think it kind of comes back to consumer behavior. It's kind of coming back to the race with the actual speakers in your home. So, you have the fight between Google,
Yes,
Alexa, they're coming down to the price point of like under $50 now.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly cheap entry to borrow, but where they're it's a race to market share, right? So the more market share that they have in a particular country, the more value that they're or more customers they're going to reach. And then obviously brands can place their voice skill on those assets. Whereas a huge thing actually is going to be in the podcast industry. Placing it. We're recording a podcast, but placing it on that, and it's the accessibility. It's accessibility to have that type of audio in your life. And even when you come to assets like Clubhouse, audio is becoming massive because it's accessible. You can multitask, which is great for a lot of people, and you can reach people. So it's kind of just having that engagement element. So where we're at voice, we've done a couple of beta with voice trials with some brands.
Cool.
To be able to help support them in incubators that they have in enterprise that they kind of just have R&D money with.
Yes.
And then we'll place that into market just to test it. So where it is, it's still very infant. Where we're finding a lot of my time in the voice industry with clients would be just bringing through teams through the capability. What is the landscape? What are we looking at? So a lot of people scoping out their digital strategy for the next 3, 5, 10 years, what things have to be in place to start laddering up to that, which is a very smart approach. It's kind of that future forward approach, which is excellent. So it's kind of just understanding, it's a bit novice. It is infancy. The experience exactly won't be, the most remarkable one your customer will have, but it's definitely, it's kind of survival of the fittest. Get in fast and you'll start getting, the shareability or the market share in that space. They're talking about a lot about voice SEO, and what those triggers. So a lot of people are looking at it from a tactical sense right now, just setting them up for the future. But it kind of comes back to understanding what that value of that particular skill is going to be. So what can So, utility is a great one. So people that, weather, traffic, news, that kind of element, can really avail of it right now. And then once we start progressing into additional household items, like fridges will be able to talk to you. You're going to have holograms that will be able to talk to you. Again, the Oculus that's going to come through with Facebook, putting on your goggles and having that VR experience, like it's here, it is coming, and it's going to evolve in the next 3 years. So the next time, another 18 months, we'll look at what that looks like. But it's infant, for small to medium business. It's something to take note. Is it something right for you now? Probably not, because you need to concentrate on actually acquiring customers and the right ones, and then build from there. But it just underpins everything that you leverage to in a larger strategy, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, there's always a bright shiny object. There's always new technology that's been developed, and to kind of ease that overwhelm, I think again it's one of those things that you can kind of look at things, whether it's the phenomenon that is Clubhouse right now, whether it is the fact that the Internet of Things is going to continue to grow, and your fridge is going to be able to speak to you and order your groceries for you and all that sort of thing. Like, it's just keeping an eye on what's happening in the marketplace, but not stressing about the fact that you may not be there now, because one, is your audience there? Are they using it? This technology will keep developing, as we've seen. Facebook came out. Nobody was using Facebook when it was around, and we fast forward 10, 15 years later, there's multiple social media platforms and everybody's using them. These things take time. So it just comes back to what is right for your business or brand, where are your customers, and what technology and what tech can you use to reach them, provide them a great experience, and build that community as you've talked about. Is that a fair summary?
Very fair, because I think, coming back to your point, it's marketing strategy, it's messaging, it's who you are, it's your purpose, it's what you're trying to achieve in the world that you're living in. Any platform that comes out, you can amplify the same message. It's all going to have a different strategy. Don't kind of get hung up on that. And even like coming kind of, when we strip back, what are we trying to achieve with our clients? Our main focus right now is really acquiring, email addresses and phone numbers, so we can actually ensure that we have our IP protected. So regardless of the next new shiny object, we'll be able to reach them on that, because the back end, the digital marketing landscapes allow you to reach those people once you have that information. So I think that's the important thing. It's as basic as email and phone number. You stick with that as your primary objective, regardless of whatever you're trying to achieve or send it where you're sending your customer, you're going to win.
Yeah.
And coming back to your point, when you're putting activity into the marketplace that you're not capturing that information, asking your community to have that information, consent. This is ethical marketing, like consensual, exchange of that information to stay across what you believe as a brand or trying to sell. People are very willing to give that if they like you and they trust you. Exactly. So that's the kind of core thing. Everything is built around those two metrics for us, and then we can, do the fancy things later.
Yeah, especially with the Apple iOS 14 update and less tracking being able to be done online. Google removing third-party pixels in 2022, like all of this sort of stuff that we have relied on, and it's been the golden years. If you have a strategy in place where you can collect your customer data, your prospects data, your leads data, and you have that, you own that, you're in a good position. Just to wrap up the conversation, Aoife, we've just celebrated International Women's Day, and of course this will be a very big topic for yourself. But I would just like to get your thoughts on, where you feel we are at in that space. And we even talked about, just before we hit record, around having more female representation on digital, and it's something that we're definitely working towards. So one, I would love to get a couple of recommendations from you on who we should have on the podcast, but also two, International Women's Day. Talk to me about it.
Big topic for me. This year, I don't feel very comfortable celebrating International Women's Day personally. I think the year that has gone with COVID has been the writing on the wall for equality, as they like to call it, and the unpaid work that females have to do, certainly from homeschooling. And I think it's very evident, and what's happening not just in Australia but across the world, certainly with harder countries that have been in lockdown more. Balancing that work life and family has been incredibly difficult. So that's coming from my perspective as a mother, looking as a working mom, all that kind of stuff, but every mom works. International Women's Day, look, I think it's as a day in itself. Personally, it's a corporate spun on trying to just bake cupcakes and say well done. I think it's a really cheap shot. Personally, again, for me, equality is kind of not the bones of the conversation. It's about equity. And the equity, if for me, is actually giving not just the opportunity to women or diverse groups or minorities, is about how we can give the opportunity, but also what else do they need to level playing fields to their, their counterparts that aren't excluded or discriminated against. I'm actually furiously calm about this, because if you're very furiously angry, then you're not taken seriously, Anthony. And I think in an agency owner in the last 2 years, I've come across some very interesting conversation that I've had with both clients or potential clients. And how I can deliver what potentially, you could deliver, for instance. It's been really eye-opening for me. And I think we're angry. And the last year that has come about is that we need and demand change. So we need to amplify voices, and we need to amplify the reality of the actual suppression that we are. We're 100 years back from earning the same pay as our male counterparts. I think we're $62 to the euro or to the dollar.
Yeah.
In our country, and that's, I'm a white Caucasian female,
Yes.
I'm not even in my sister's bloody demographic. So it's just it's just not right. And I think we have to change from the top down and educate from that. But we also need to just demand who we can work with and what we want to achieve there. And voices are starting to get heard. International Women's Day, absolutely want to support all the brave voices that are trying to make change. But I think we need to allow them speak and elevate that. And to your point, invite them to be included, but not just included, have that equitable approach and what else they need to be included. And there's a lot of dialogue around females, certainly in business, that they don't perform in the same level as a male. That's absolutely cack, because if they're given the same opportunity within a different bandwidth, and not 9 to 5 because they have the double shift or whatever that looks like, then the world would be a lot better and fairer place to be. So I think it's my responsibility as a business owner to be able to speak on behalf of people that don't have those voices. I was in corporate for a very long time. My voice was silent for 15 years because you don't want to get fired, or you don't want to rock the boat, or you don't want to be seen as dramatic. There's a lot of assumptions. So I think International Women's Day for me, interesting, but it's just not one day. It's moving forward, and how can we make the girls of the future, but also the women of today, have the opportunity that they deserve.
100%. I could not agree more. So we would, of course, be doing, playing our part in helping to elevate those voices and, make sure that equity, as you said, does happen sooner rather than later. And as I said, I'll definitely be getting your recommendations on some potential guests for the show as well. So, Aoife, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find out more about yourself and Yanley?
Yeah, absolutely. Yarnly.ai, and you can contact me on LinkedIn, which is a good one. AOIFE Marie O'Connell.
How fun is LinkedIn at the moment, by the way?
Oh my God. If you want equity in one channel, that's not it.
Yeah, well, that's another rabbit hole. We won't go down that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
So that's it for another episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. As we mentioned, we'd love to get your thoughts and feedback on this episode. You can do that by heading over to our Instagram at AttentionMedia Agency and letting us know what your thoughts. Send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. We'd also love to know what you'd like us to talk about in upcoming episodes. So send us your topic ideas. We are always interested. And if you'd love to know more, head over to the website attentionmedia.com.au. That's all for now. We'll see you in the next episode.